Hey folks, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop for another episode of Shop Talks. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, I'm just going to talk about several subjects that have to do with model building, the Midwest Model Shop, YouTube, my thoughts and opinions, etc. So feel free to set your phone down and just listen. For those of you happy to watch me speak at you, I'm happy to keep going. So a couple of things, but many things. But let's start out with just a few comments about the content level that we've been putting out lately has been obviously exceptionally low. This has been very frustrating to me. And the only thing I'm going to say is my wife and I were reflecting upon this last calendar year. And for us personally at home, it has not been the best. And consequently, we have not been able to put out as many videos as we want. Let's just say that life, and I think you all know this, life sometimes really gets in the way of just doing the things that we enjoy or really want to do. And that has happened this year. My wife keeps saying, next year's got to be better. It's got to be better. It's just somehow it's got to be better. And I said, well, I'm not going to get too fired up about that, because if you go back to one of my Titanic videos that came out right after the new year, 2019, right at the beginning of 2019, I said, this year's got to be better than last year. It's going to be great. Let's keep going. And somebody commented that he said, this comment at this minute mark did not age particularly well. And they're right. It did not. That year was exceptionally bad. So things are looking up here, and I'm hoping to up my level of content. I have paint drying over here. The camera's been running. We're doing things, and I'm trying to stay on top of balancing running the Midwest Model Shop's website and, most importantly, 3D parts production and creating content. Thank you to everyone who has gone to our shop and made a purchase, and those of you who come back and continue to make purchases. Please feel free to tell your friends about the website and check out what we're doing. I'd like to grow the business a little bit more, just a little bit more than what we're doing right now. And then that's good. That's like, we're at this point where like, it's really worth our time, but we don't have to hire people and expand, because then you have to make like a monumental jump. This is definitely a small business that my wife and I do on the side, but we take it very seriously. And I feel like the shop and our products were very boutique. And I say that not just because I'm boutique. We do everything in-house. It's all me, with the exception of a couple of very close friends who have designed some parts that we do sell, and these people are absolute experts in their fields, specifically Titanic. A handful of the Titanic parts were not designed by me, but by people who really, really know what they're doing. Our business is growing. We're doing well because I'm starting to get a few emails here and there from people that are like the fringe, right? So like, for example, I knew I had quote unquote arrived to YouTube and the internet. My presence was known when I got my first a-hole comment from somebody. Just an ignorant, stupid, typical internet comment. It was really dumb. And I read it and I smiled. And then I laughed and I was like, yes, we are here. The internet has discovered my YouTube channel, because here they are in all their glory. That's happening too with the Midwest Model Shop. 99% of our customers, you folks, are absolutely fantastic. You'll reach out if you have a question or two, but 98% of you just buy our stuff, and you buy it over and over again, and that is fantastic. 1% of you buy all of our stuff over and over again, and you reach out with some questions. Nothing wrong with that. A tiny percentage, I'm going to clump 1%, I'm going to clump into does not know how to doesn't know how to read. So like you'll just click on our product. You won't read anything in the description. I don't just put flibber flabber and jibber jabber over there. And then you run into problems and you email me and I say, did you read the description? And then that's the end of that. A chunk of those people also, they'll complain they don't know how to do something. I had an individual who said, your Titanic bench sets are terrible. There's no way to remove them without destroying them. You need to redesign them. And this was after like 900 some sales of just the bench sets. This guy out of the blue says they need to be redesigned. And so I just wrote him back and said, did you watch the video on how to remove them? It was in the description of the product that you bought right there with a hot link directly to the video. All you had to do is click on it and it would show you how to remove the bench sets. Well, no, he didn't. But he took the time to complain and throw a huge fit. I had an individual the other day, they purchased a 1/350th scale bench set, and they were comparing it to the kit part, which is just this atrocious, I don't know, elbow-shaped piece of white plastic, and then said, mine are too small. And I was like, we've sold a lot of 1/350th bench sets, and you're the first person who thinks they're too small. And I just replied back, and said, did you do a little math to see how big these benches are actually supposed to be? Because it's to scale. The Titanic is a monumentally huge ship. Built in 1912, 1916? I know I should have this memorized, but in the 19 teens, right? You put that hull next to the Missouri, you put that hull next to the Enterprise, a World War II era aircraft carrier, and Titanic is bigger. It's much larger. It was ginormously huge. Not in today's cruise line ship standards, but for the first half of the last century, it was a large ship. So your parts that you think should be pretty big, and that's a bias established by the grossly out of scale parts that come in your kit. You'll see that they're smaller than you think. You just need to do some math and do some scaling. But that doesn't stop people from just reaching out and flabbing the gap. And you know what? It's great. It's great because I do need feedback. And I do get a lot of feedback. I get a lot of emails from you folks saying you love the products, they're fantastic, and you appreciate what we do. And I really do appreciate that. Those emails, by and large, exceed the negative ones. So if 1% of our customers are complaining, or they don't know, or they're confused, 10 or 12%, or it's really that high, email back saying love it, super happy. And that's really encouraging to me. And so that kind of leads me into my next subject, and it's talking about YouTube reviews of products. Now, some people, and they've taken the time to email me to say, I don't like this. They don't like that I do review videos. The one gentleman called them sale videos. If I review a model kit, I'm not selling the kit. I got the kit and I'm reviewing it. It's out of the box review. That's how it works. And this one guy was like, I didn't even write him back. I just ignored him. But I was thinking to myself, if you don't like a video that I put out, don't watch it. If you see the thumbnail and the subject, don't watch it. If you're not sure, start it up. You'll see the title of the video. I do a little intro. Just don't watch it. It's okay, But if you feel the need to comment, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But so far, the big companies, you've probably seen it, are Verifier and Zokamura are the two companies that have been sending me kits lately, and they've been doing a great job of releasing things. Now, fortunately, Zokamura makes probably the best kits out there right now. I just bought a Das Werks two airplane kits from Dustworks. Now, Dustworks is a armor company. 99% of their stuff's like, or 98% of their stuff's armor. But I saw that they had a couple of airplanes. They're the couple experimental end of the war dealies. They're jets. One's a pulse engine jet. I don't remember the name because it's a weird designation. One of them was built. The other one, the Russians found the plans for, and the Russians built a couple of examples of, but the Germans never did. Fun kits. I bought them. Super high quality kits. The molding looks fantastic. The detail is crisp. Everything is sharp. But when you watch some videos, build videos of people putting them together, the fit's not so hot. I mean, there's gaps that shouldn't be quite so gappy. That you should, those tolerances shouldn't be like that. And you're going to have to fill in the gaps. Is this the end of the world? No, we're model builders. But Zokamura doesn't have those issues, right? You know what I'm saying here. Verifier doesn't have those issues. So that's why I like these products so much. Now, will I criticize a kit if I don't like something? Yes, I will. And I have. This thing is Zokamura and Verifier is really, I'm not seeing anything that I want to complain about too much, if that even warrants complaining. Trumpeter, if you watch my Trumpeter build videos, yes, I like the Fletcher, but it's not perfect. You've listened to me go through the Enterprise videos. I'm constantly, and those aren't review videos, but I'm like, hey, this, and this. So what I'm getting at is I was told recently by, and I won't name the company, but he said, hey, don't review models by company X. They apparently don't respond well to criticism. Which I was like, man, and they're not the only ones who don't respond well. I follow a lot of computer technology YouTube channels, and I because I have a pretty high-end machine, not by today's standards, but for a few years ago standards. I did some gaming, but primarily because my graphics card and the RAM and everything are heavily utilized by my 3D CAD program that I use to design stuff. And my machine has 100 gigabytes of RAM in it, and it goes up to like 50 or 60 gigs gets used on occasion when I'm running just the CAD program. And I'll have YouTube running and some tabs open, you know. So anyway, so in the computer world, there's the same thing. Companies will send their stuff out, and if you give them a negative review, and a lot of guys do, then there's all this big feedback, and they're angry and they're upset. And I started thinking about models, and I was like, well, it's tough because basically that's an emotional response. If I get a model kit and I open it up and I go through it, it's very hard to judge the overall quality of the kit without building it, right? Like how I didn't know that my Dustworks model kits had some fit issues. By looking at it, they look like everything's fantastic. Well, then I watch someone build it, and I'm like, ooh, how did they not make that part fit better? Like it's obvious that they could have just, the tolerances are way off. So that would be like a negative critique, right? And when you build a model, because I build the 3D parts, you put a tremendous amount of mental energy and time into designing the part because there's no other way around it. And that's why I go back to, we're kind of boutique-y. I, with the exception of a few things, I do all the designing myself. And then I did have an email, a very nice email from a guy, little side note here. He got my Titanic 1/200 scale anchor chain set, but apparently he had purchased another set from some website with a company located in China. He got the ones from China, he thought they were fine, but for whatever reason he ordered mine. And he said when I put them next to each other, it was like night and day difference. But he couldn't tell until he had them in front of him how much better ours were. Now, I'm not like trying to toot my horn here. All I did was say, well, this is what the real thing looks like, so I'm going to copy that as accurately as possible. I'm going to try and make it so that the real thing looks, so that my 1/200 scale thing that I print out and send to you looks almost exactly like the real thing, as close as possible. That's what I'm going for. so why we're a little boutiquey. But a lot of time and energy goes into it. And if you're a company, you have employees. So now you have a group of CAD designers working on this project together. You're having meetings. If you're smart, you're using 3D printers to print your parts off in advance and test them out and see how they fit before you go and order $100,000 worth of molds. And so what I'm getting at is years of development can go into a product. Then you send it off to some Joe Blow YouTuber like me, and I'm like, this doesn't fit well. This is terrible. Why did they do that? How come they didn't research this right? Rah, 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 rah. Those people who sent that out, like, that hurts, right? That hurts. It's a criticism, but it hurts. And so the flaw there is that they push back negatively on the YouTuber for that review, though. Somebody should have vetted that kit ahead of time who is a model builder, who knows what's going on prior to getting out in the market. And if you're going to send it out for reviews to get people to promote your item, hopefully, you need to be prepared for negative comments or comments that are critical of the product. And I think that shows the maturity of the company if you are. Zokamura doesn't get negative feedback from me because, like, a giant chunk of their senior staff are hardcore model builders. Like, hardcore. I use this tool by Zokamura. It's all in Japanese. But basically, it's a metal scraper. It's high quality Japanese steel. It's got a little string wrapped around it, and then a extremely deadly sharpened down flat bottom and scalpel double-sided edge, and it's for removing raised surfaces instead of like using your X-Acto knife, and then you could sharpen it. And one of the guys at Zokamura has had his and sharpened it so many times it's like it's only this long instead of being this. Like, he's lost a third of it. He's used it that much. So they're building their models and they're saying, no, this isn't good enough. We're not going to release this. So it comes out, remarkably well. And a lot of these other companies, they don't do that. That's not the kind of industry that they are in. So I wonder what's going on, Rick. So, that's kind of the difference. But I do think that, I think that that's just a maturity thing. You're in business, people are going to criticize you. If you're putting out a bad product, but you're going to make money on it, and your goal is to make money, then you shouldn't care that people criticize it. If you're putting out a bad product or just a mediocre product, you should know that, right? Like, just accept that that's where you're at with things. So anyway, fortunately that hasn't happened yet. I try to share things that I do think are worth your while and that you'll want to see. So otherwise, there, I guess the video would be really short. Like, here's product A, B, C, and D. Don't buy it, right? And that's helpful to some people. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. All right, so moving along. One of the other things I wanted to bring up, I need everyone's help with something on YouTube. I don't think this has happened. I think if it did happen, you would let me know. So YouTube and editing and AI editing. When you upload a video to YouTube, it's in the quality that you have edited it to be, right? I do my videos in 1080p. They look like they look. And that's what goes on to YouTube. And there's a bunch of sound compression and things that YouTube does. But apparently, I've just found out about this. Now, no one's saying anything on my channel. YouTube has been experimenting with AI and utilizing it to alter the appearance of some creators' videos after the fact. The one guy that I watch, very large channel, I think he has 800-something thousand or 755,000 subscribers. People started complaining, saying, hey, I can't watch your video like this. It's messing with me. And this is actually a dangerous thing if you have, if you get, I forget what it's called, but if you get seizures from flashing lights, And what was happening was he was just uploading his videos kind of raw, and YouTube was using an AI editor to try and like make it look a little better. Apparently his videos weren't up to their snuff, or they were just experimenting. And it created an error in the file. So like what was happening is like the background behind me would start flickering, like a digital disruption, and it was flashing, right? Obviously that's extremely distracting. And his videos, this guy's, I don't usually watch them. I pop them on and I listen to them. So I wouldn't have noticed this, but he showed it. He went and found it on his own. He was using his phone. It was happening at different times. So he reached out to YouTube and was like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, it'll be fine. It's on your end. You need to re-upload the video, or you need to do... One of the videos was so bad, he took it down. And he kept complaining to them. And like, I don't have a YouTube contact. I don't even know how to get a hold of YouTube if I have another problem. The last time I had a serious problem, I was advised to create a Twitter account and then tag them in that. And then, I think it was Twitter. And then we like had an exchange through there, and through that method, we had an email exchange back and forth, and they helped me with my issue. But it was extremely stressful and very difficult. Larger channels can actually reach out to somebody there at YouTube. And they just kept pushing him around, and he just kept pushing back saying, this is still happening. Finally, they're like, okay, which videos? Oh, give us 5 minutes. He waits 5 minutes, they're like, go back and check it again. And the flickering was gone. They had clearly shut something off. They knew something was going on. And it turns out that they're trying to use AI to gloss over and edit their videos to make it look a little better. Or they were monkeying with it. Now my videos, the software program that I use, when it's done, it does like an auto highlighting color adjustment processing, which actually takes a long time. The video, 3/4 of the time or 2/3 of the editing time, finalizing time, is just my edits. And then it starts over again and it tries to highlight and make little adjustments to the color and appearance of things. And I don't mind it because it ends up looking really good and dialing the colors in, and the videos look like they look. So maybe YouTube is happy with my videos, or maybe they don't care. My point is, if you see this and it's all messed up, please comment in the video so that I can try to adjust that and try to figure that type of thing out. So let's see, moving on. Next thing I want to talk about, I have a list of things here. So AI, I brought up AI. I'm going to bring, okay. I'm not going to get political, deep conspiracy theorist, or I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to make a statement here. As long as I can control it, never, ever, ever will you require a digital ID to make a purchase from the Midwest Model Shop. If that becomes a requirement, that's going to be something that was caused or driven by Shopify, who is the host service. But I don't think that should be an issue. That way, I guess there could be a situation in the future where a digital ID could be required to make a purchase on Amazon, for example. And the reason is so that you yourself actually did make this purchase, and it comes to you. I'm never going to require that. And if the shop remains big and doing well, it's not big, but doing well and continues on, and Shopify is to require that, I probably would find like a different host or do something to change it. So that's all I'm going to say is as long as I have control, I will never require a digital ID to buy something. Okay, that being said, I've had some comments that seem positive about offering 2-piece Oerlikon cannon sets. So right now, our Oerlikon cannons are all printed in as one thing. Like, all you gotta do is remove the supports, paint them, and stick them on, and you're done. I could print them so that the base and shield are one piece, and then the gun with the magazine and the harness are another separate piece. then you would have to glue them together. But you could set whatever angle on the gun you wanted at that point. Now, I try to sell them where they're tipped up just a little bit or they're pointing straight out so that you can make minor adjustments to how they are set. But you know, some Navy ships, I've seen them where the gun's pointed straight up in the air. They're just like, that's the idle position. Just put it with the barrel straight up in the air and just leave it there. If you wanted to build a model like that, you know, my parts wouldn't work. So you would need them separate. I guess I want to know what the interest is in that before I go down that road. And the reason I say that is it's all a monumental time suck. It takes a huge commitment of time on my end to just get the designs separated and the parts separated, and then I have to support them in a way that you guys can easily remove them. If I want to be, without going into a deep dive explanation, I very quickly could take all my 3D model parts, put them in a slicer, say support them, auto support it, throw it in the printer, they'd print and I'd mail it to you. And that's what 99% of companies do. And then you get them and you're like, oh, it's an amazing looking part buried in a gazillion supports that I have no idea how I'm going to remove. I spend a lot of time orienting the parts so that they will print successfully and I have the least number of supports possible, and those supports are arranged in such a way that it is as easy as possible for you to remove them. That is also why I laugh at people who say, I can't remove any of your parts from the supports, it's terrible. Well, one, you're probably doing something wrong 99% of the time. Two, you should see the other options that are out there if you think this is bad. So, so I don't want to make the investment in time unless that's something you want to do. Also an investment in time. So I started working on the Fletcher parts, a kit of like, just there's a whole bunch of generic stuff that's on the kit that's like, this is terrible. It's just a blob of whatever, and it can be better. And so I've started that process. I've got a file and there's several items in it already. They're little inconsequential parts, but they add a lot of realism to the kit, and it's worth, like, I want it. Like the next one that I build, I don't want to put those parts on. I want better parts. So I am working on that. I'm just not done. And again, like I said, it takes a long time to do that. And the thing is, I'm a model builder and I want to be building more models. Kits. I don't actually want to be spending my time sitting in front of the computer building this stuff. And I know right away you guys are like, well, why don't you just contract somebody out to design these things for you? One, it costs a lot of money. Two, I have done some contracting. Those digital artists, like, that's what they do. They sit in front of their computer, in front of their CAD or whatever design program, and they make their models. And that's how they make money. So they're not necessarily in a hurry, and they charge a lot of money for their time. And their attitude is, you know, it's the right attitude. I have the skill and ability. You don't. You want this thing, it costs. And I get that because I have some of those skills too. That's how I design all these models. So it's very expensive. But then you run into the issue of it's the process. I think I've shared this before, but I have my mathematical equation to explain it is you have A times B equals C. C is the final product that you get. C is a 3D printed model that looks like the real thing when you look at it, that is to scale with your kit. A is the real deal times B. B is what you have to do to create a digital model that ends up looking like the real thing to scale. And an example to that is a simple one is the Titanic benches. I'm giving away some secrets here, but it's okay. The Titanic bench sets, super easy. I scanned pictures of the actual arm legs, like the metal legs that have all the fancy detail and everything, and I copied it exact. And I made the two ends and then the middle piece, that your wrought iron pieces. I put them where they were supposed to go scale-wise, and then I created digital boards or planks like one would do in real life, and I planked the stands, and I had a perfect, exact model of the Titanic bench set. Easy peasy. That was a simple one. And I threw it in my slicer, and I put supports that seemed to be good, and I took it to the printer, and I went go, and I got a blob. I did not get a bench. I did not have a successful print at all. The model required heavy modification in very clever ways so that when the printer was done, you're looking at this little tiny bench and you're like, yeah, that looks exactly like the real thing. I could see through all the little slats. It's got the boards. It's got the ends. Looks good. The digital model of the bench set, like if I showed you that on the screen, you'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? What is this? And that's because it's super tiny, but you need to support and strengthen certain parts in a way where they will print. And then when they're done printing, they get washed, and mine set up 4 times to remove as much of the resin as possible, and they have to survive that washing process. And every time they're washed, hopefully just loose liquid resin is removed, but sometimes if the part's tiny enough, a piece of the part will go away. And I've even made models where I'll put a super tiny support in to ensure that the model prints. You'll never see that support because by the time it gets to stage 4 of my wash tank, it's evaporated into nothingness. It's been diluted and cleaned away and is gone. That all takes a lot of time. And so I would have to go back and forth with the designer of the product to work through all that. And they want to charge you every single time. It would be easier, like I use Fusion 360 primarily. It would be easy if they used Fusion 360 and they just sent me the Fusion 360 file when they were done with it. Then I could go in there and I could monkey around with it. That is not what they do. 99% of these guys and gals want to give you an STL file. You can't edit the STL file. Now, I can import it into Fusion 360. It takes a massive amount of computing power, and I can convert it into a solid object, but it loses a ton of fidelity when you do that, and you end up with this funny model. And it's very frustrating to work that way. So what I'm getting at is a simple project like the Titanic bench sets, for example, can turn into this huge headache. And then I designed the bases and everything so that you guys can, as easily as possible, remove each bench and cut the model out successfully and paint it and put it, where it needs to go. All that takes a lot of time. And you know what I really want to do? I really want to build more model kits. I don't. While designing 3D stuff is fun, it's not actually what I want to do with my time. I want to sit and build. I like working with the different paints and glues and scratch building things. And I don't mind saying, hey, I need this part 3D printed. I'm gonna design this thing and I'm gonna go try it. I have a special project model that I'm doing right now where I was like, ooh, I could scratch build these hinges, or I could just go 3D print them and they'll work. So I go and I 3D print them. It took a bunch of screwing around. It was like a whole afternoon and then into the next day, and they didn't work. It just didn't work the way I needed to. And I was like, I need to make a decision here. I'm either going to continue to screw around with this microscopic one-off part, or I'm just going to say we're going to forego this thing. We're going to press on and just, get the build done. And so I did. I skipped it and just moved on with the model and having a good time. So I want to build more models. I don't want to spend time in front of my computer, but I do need to continue on with the Fletcher parts and building that. And the guns, the Fletcher guns, the main guns, your 5-inch guns, I am going to work on those. I'm trying to make a decision about what's best for everybody, I guess, involved. I think I spend a lot of time saying, well, what do I want? And what I want is most of the time a model that I could just cut out and paint and put on and I'm done. I don't want to fuss around with building it. I don't want to build. I'm paying extra for these parts. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time assembling them and then painting them. But it would be nice if you could have the barrels pointed in different positions. And so one of the things I had thought about doing was, well, what if I just print 3 different barrel angles with the blast bags? You know, having it pointing straight ahead, have it like 25 degrees, and the other one like almost in a salute position, like 30 or whatever the full up position is. I got to print those. I got to make it so that you guys can install them into the main body of the gun. That's a separate project. And I also only have made the single knuckle gun. I have to build the double knuckle gun. But I've learned things. You can spend a lot of time digitally printing things, designing things, and then at this scale, you'll discover you wasted time. One of the things is like when you, like if you, well, let's just take like the Oerlikon cannons for example. I have line drawings, front, back, top, and side of those guns. I could just scan them and import them and copy every single little detail. That takes a lot of time. And then you shrink it down to something the size of a pea and you go and you print it, and guess what? 80% of your work, not only is it not visible, a lot of times if it is visible, it shows up like a little blob that you see with a magnifying glass, and then you back up, it looks like the real thing. And then all the other little details that you sweated, or they don't even exist. Because there is a size limitation to what resin will print in, will print in, and then even survive like the cleaning process and be visible when you're done. Anything down to the layer height, which is 0.3 microns, when you get down to that layer height and size, it's gone. It will not show up. So you're wasting time doing that. So I've learned to say, I'm going to put a block here. I'm going to put a circle here. I'm going to put another block here and connect it like this. I'm going to put a circle here. I'll put some bolts and nuts here and here, but they got to be the really big ones, because otherwise you won't see them. But if you see them, they should be something you can easily see on the real model. Otherwise, everything's out of scale. I'm not going to throw... And then there's a matter of opinion there. I sent some of my Oerlikon cannons out to a guy in 1/350th scale. I'm like, here, you're doing a view. You're doing a build where you need them. You're doing a review. I'm going to send them to you. He wrote me back after he got them and says, I'm not going to do a review for you because I don't have anything good to say about your models. And I was like, you don't like my 1/350th Oerlikon cannons? And he didn't. Personally, he didn't like that you couldn't see some of the rivet detail and bolts on the front of the shields. I'm like, well, those are like nuts, like 1/2-inch bolts in real life. And at this scale, those, I make a little indent for you, and then that's it. And maybe you might see it if you paint real clearly, but not so well. And then some of the other detail, I don't remember. I think that was his biggest complaint. And then he's like, the barrel looks a little skinny, and I don't like that. And I was like, okay, well, you don't like these. He went with another manufacturer in his model build. I'm not going to name them, but I was like, that's what you like? Like the bolts are like this big scale-wise on these. They're stupidly huge. The barrel to the Oerlikon cannon, which should be about that round, is like this round, like a 5-inch gun. Like, they're ridiculous. But he liked the way that they looked. He liked that he could see those details. As silly as it made the model look, in my opinion. In his opinion, it looked great. So I stick to, let's not waste time and try and make it look as realistic and to scale as possible. Other manufacturers place emphasis on some of this detail that's grossly out of scale. And I think that's good. I think it's good that you have the option to find what it is that you want to buy and put that on your model and build it the way that you want. And I appreciated that he didn't give me a negative review video and put it out there. But I did think, hey man, you don't have to say anything negative. You could just compare the two. This is the Midwest Model Shops. This is this other one. If you look at them, you could see the two differences. And he could say, I don't prefer this one. I prefer this one because A, B, C, and D. And when I reached out back to him, I said, that's all out of scale, and you can't see this, you can't see that, and these things are all disproportionate on this other kit. He wrote back, yeah, I like all, they might be out of scale, but I like seeing all that. Well, okay, that's good. So anyway, I hope this evolution of flow of thoughts is making sense and you guys can follow along. But I do want to build more models. I don't want to spend too much time digitally designing things unless it's really going to be worthwhile. And by worthwhile, I mean long-term purchases by the modeling community. That's why, for example, the 1/350th Oerlikon cannons. The mainstay of ship scales is 1/350th. If you're going to build an American warship from the World War II era, you're going to need a 1/350th scale Oerlikon cannon. Period. And guess what? They're going to keep making them. So I put in the work. We have a good model. It'll keep going in perpetuity. I don't really want to be one of those companies that produces a unique part to make a really kind of oddball, unique model, enhancement to a model, and then that model dies, and then you have this part, and there you go. That's what happens to a lot of companies. I'll search around before I build something new. I'll look for it online. I'll find what I want to make often. Oh, and this is what they're charging. Okay, and this is when and I click on availability, and it's either sold out, never to be made again, or it'll say, please allow 6 to 7 weeks for this to be made and shipped. Well, I need it now, right? So those are decisions that go into what I produce and how they're available. But the big one is I don't want to produce an item for like a unique kit that's not going to be around for a long time. The Fletcher and 1/200 scale, that will probably outlive me, this kit, if I had to guess, before someone makes a new one. I would love someone to make an even better version, but this is a really pretty good kit, and it's in 1/200 scale. So yeah. Along the lines of I want to build more, I'm gonna try to. Some of these builds are really long, and I get tired. I get tired of looking at the same colors, and I'm staring at the same thing. And I think a lot of people do, and if I can't consistently build, because that's what happens with my life has changed in the last couple of years, where I can't come down and hit the shop as often as I want. And I feel like I spend a long time looking at the model, and I want to build some smaller projects that will move along faster. And I want to build a bunch of these airplane kits that I bought, and I have a bunch of car kits that I've bought. And I'm not talking about I'm just going to slap together this car. We'll super detail them and make them amazing. But they are shorter builds than some of these big epic projects. That being said, when I'm done filming this, I'm pulling parts down and double checking where I'm at on Enterprise, because we got to get going on that. The Duchess Kingston is right here. I've got my rigging, my main stuff right here, and the kit box is actually right there. We're going to get rock and rolling on that again like I was before. And right in front of me, you guys can't see it, but I'm looking at the engine and the cockpit and my notes to the Zokamura Focke-Wulf 190 that I was building a year ago. We're coming up on a year. The Fletcher was supposed to go quickly. I was like, this is not a difficult build. I'm just going to go downstairs. I'll slap it together. Well, the paint scheme I picked added a lot of time to the build, A. B, life my life was not conducive to the old schedule that I had that let me come down to the shop and build regularly. That did not happen. It was weeks went by where I wasn't able to touch it. I was extremely frustrated and disappointed about that. But that happens. I am not a full-time YouTuber. I have a job and a family and a life outside of building models. But, those are some thoughts. Last thing I want to talk about, this is more business sidey things. This goes back to the Midwest Model Shop. Some of you know, well, anyone who's made a purchase knows we don't accept PayPal. It's not a form of purchasing that we allow. Why? And the simple answer is every time you use your credit card, there's a credit card processing transaction fee that I have to pay. PayPal charges double, literally double what I pay right now through Shopify. Now, here's the thing. Throughout the year, at most, I will get like 3, maybe 4 inquiries from people around the world asking me if I will accept PayPal instead. Mostly Europeans who do not use credit cards at all. They use their bank or debit card or a prepaid card, or they have PayPal, and PayPal works fine. You should be able to use your debit card on Shopify now. I have things set up so that's supposed to be the case. If it doesn't work, I don't really know what's going on. So I really only have a handful of people who can't figure out how to make the purchase without PayPal. If I turn PayPal on, though, you all would use PayPal because it's easy. I go to checkout all the time. Oh, PayPal, click, auto fills in my information, double click to use this card, payment submitted, information's there, we're done. Easy peasy. So that means everyone would use that because it is easier, which means, and we have thousands of transactions. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, how do we pack all these up? But we do. Thousands of transactions, and suddenly our cost to have those transactions happen would double. Versus keeping it where it's at right now, and 2 or 3 people a year are cranky that they can't use PayPal. That's why we don't use PayPal. It literally, and I'm not talking about over the course of the year, this would affect us a couple $100. It's a large chunk of money that would come out of pocket. So that's why we don't use PayPal. It just costs too much. And I'm trying to keep costs down and trying to keep things under control so that things are affordable for you guys. I want you to get your money's worth out of the product. And part of that value comes in the time saved. But the other part of it is like shipping. And I have looked into different shipping options. We're still best off with UPS and USPS. On occasion, DHL pops up and some people select DHL. Here's my problem. Where I live, there isn't a DHL drop-off for miles. I mean, I have to go hunting around for it. So I eat the extra cost. You guys pay whatever you pay, and then I go and I select what shipping method I'm going to use. It costs more than what you've paid. I pay the difference. It all comes out of my pocket, and then I send it off so that hopefully you get it. And that's it. We've had a couple of hiccups recently with our UPS store. I think they get our products. I go in, they're ready to go. They just got to scan it, boop, and off it goes. I think some of those items I bring in, they get confused because of the line of people, and they throw it in the Amazon return pile. I've had a few people recently reach out saying, hey, Ben, it's been like 3 weeks, and it says you haven't delivered it yet to UPS to ship. Oh, yes, I have. It went out right away. What are you talking about? It didn't move. And I go check the tracking, and sure enough, it hasn't moved. So what I've been doing to counter that, although this is a pain, is I go into the store, I drop them off, and I say, I need a receipt. I need a receipt that these were shipped. Because the only way they can give me the receipt is to scan them in to UPS's system and put them in the right pile. Otherwise, it won't generate a receipt. For Amazon, it'd be different, right? So that is what I do. Yeah, and that's it right now. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this little talk, and it's something good to listen. And feel free to comment down below and like and subscribe. Oh, one last thing, and I'm going to do a video on this, I think. I want to help everybody out right now because I understand a lot of you aren't necessarily technically savvy. I will often say, and 99% of YouTubers, at least the ones that I watch, depending on what they're doing, will make this comment at some point during the video. They'll say, links down in the description below. Or, there's more information in the link in the description down below for the video. And I will get emails and comments from you guys saying, well, how do I buy this? How do I get this? How do I go to that? I don't understand. Well, the link is in the description down below. What link? I'm looking at all the comments. I don't see anything. Every YouTube video, in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, it's either going to say more, ... in white letters, or there's a little arrow, a V, pointing down if you're on your phone. If you click on that, it will open up a menu with whatever the creator has put in there. So in all of my videos, there's a bunch of default links to our Facebook page, to Instagram, and to, that might be it, or the shop. And then if there's a product, there's a specific link to the product in there. It tells you where the music came from. The other day, this guy's like, Ben, the music in your videos, what's the band and name of the song? It's in the link in the description down below. You literally just have to open the description up. It's right there with a hard link to the song that you can listen to actually for free on the internet. So look for, on the bottom right, it's just under the screen that you're watching. I think it's right down here if I'm pointing in the right spot on the video, right here. There's a little arrow where it says more. Tap that. And this is every YouTube video under the sun. If they're reviewing a product and they say the product's linked down below, click on that, click on the link to the product. You got to read, click on that, and it'll take you directly to the thing, and you can purchase it. So that's when I say links in the description down below and all the other YouTubers in the world, that is what they're talking about, okay? I hope that helps those of you who are listening. And we'll probably do, like I said, a little video to help those folks out. Because it causes problems, and I get emails with people asking for things, and I'm like, it's right there. How do you not, well, they just don't know. And if you, one of the things I learned in the military, when someone doesn't know something, they just don't know something. And your job at that point is to educate them on it. You can make fun of them for not knowing something, but that actually isn't helpful. The individual still doesn't know the thing that they need to know. So, yeah, anyway. All right, well, that's it. I think I've talked long enough. I hope you enjoyed this. And, yeah, we see you guys out there next time.